mann som öknar bruk och snuttar.
Hello world, hello YouTube. This is Shauna once again with Disrupt Apps, continuing on with our basic and introduction to JavaScript portion of our tutorial series. And in the last tutorial we went over things like alerts, variables, console log, learning about variables and the document object and methods to get parts of the DOM, and getting parts of the document object, which is the document object model, and coming in here and finding our DOM, which is all of our code, all of the stuff that's in our HTML document, and targeting specific elements by using the ID and using the get elements ID method, and then using the inner HTML method to dynamically render content. In this tutorial I want to devote to a concept called concatenation, and hopefully I can spell this thing right. Concatenation, I believe that's how it's spelled. Concatenation. Let's see if I spelled that correctly. Probably not. Yep, well I got it right. Google said it was right, so concatenation. And this will be good. We can see a series of interconnected things or events. So we'll go ahead and get into what concatenation is and how to do that with JavaScript. And so in the last tutorial series we used Z and A as strings, and we console logged these things out to our console, checking out like the types that they were and what they would do when you render them out on the console. So let's go ahead and get back and do a refresher real quick of what we did, what we accomplished. And I'm going to go ahead and just comment out this code because we won't be working with it. Alright, so let's come back to our website and hit refresh, F12 to pull up our console, and we've got test, content, OO, and H, which are rendering out. And if you wanted to, we could render these out to a P tag or whatever, but we're not going to do that right now. Okay, so concatenation is a big word and it has nothing to do with cats. So let's start anew. Let's get rid of all this. Why not? More training, more fun, more practices, repetition. So let's go ahead and concatenate some letters to make a word. Let's go ahead and do let char _00, because we're going to use a character, even though that JavaScript doesn't have characters and strings. Everything's a string. We'll just go ahead and just do it this way for more computer science reinforcement. So char 00 equals, and we'll say capital H. Okay, so the next one, let's do let char _01 equals to quotations lowercase e. Let's do let char _02 equals to L. So where are we going to go to? And let char _03 equals not 0. Oh. All right, so we're not going to go to a bad place. We're going to go to a good place. All right, so let's get a console.log. Get that there. Let's go ahead and copy the char _00, which is going to be the capital H. Copy that, paste that there. Control S to save, and we have a capital H. All right, so the way you can concatenate, which means put together, is you can do it one of two ways, and I'll show you the old way that's kind of out of fashion, and I'll explain why it is later on. So let's go ahead and put a plus here, and let's go ahead and copy this char. 01 and put the char underscore 01 here. Tighten that up and let's see what happens. Come to our page, refresh. Hey, we're starting to spell a word, H-E. And then if we, intuitive, you're probably thinking, I know what's going to happen. So let's go and type in a plus, then put in, paste in the char 2. Control S to save, come back to our page, H-E-L-L-O, H-E-L. I wonder where we're going to go next with that. Well, the suspense is building, isn't it? So we'll do that, and then we're going to remain under the G family, the G rating for general audience, or whatever it is. So we have char 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 2, and 0, 3. And we're concatenating all these together, and we're going to get the final word of hello. And you'll notice that there's no spaces, right? So let's do this. Let string underscore 00 equal WORLD. Okay. Let's go ahead and copy the string. We'll come to the end of this console log, put a plus sign, and let's see what happens. Paste that. Oh, hello world, but it's all run together. So when you concatenate, you're just going to stick everything together right after each other, right? So we need to put a space in here, and we have to manually tell it to make a space. So let's come after char 03, which is O, which is right here, and we'll put a plus, and then we'll come in here and we'll put quotation marks. And it doesn't matter if you use single or double quotation. Either way, it'll work. So we'll put a white space in here. So if everything worked correctly, we should get hello world, like we were expecting. Cool. So this is like an old school way of concatenation, but there's a better way. And so there's a preferred way nowadays to concatenate instead of using these pluses. So with the modern development, we've got this technique that will make things a lot easier. You don't have to worry about putting spaces in here, and you can use this method to, it'll detect the white spaces and respect the white spaces instead of having to come in here and put a plus, quotations, empty space, and then another plus. And that is by using a technique using the tick marks. What these backticks are called, they're called template strings, or JavaScript template strings. So if you remember, we've been using the double quotations and the single quotations to do strings in JavaScript. But what these backticks will do is they'll respect the white space, and I'll show you here in a little bit that they will also respect any spaces that you may put between top and the bottom. That'll be really cool for when you're rendering out dynamic content. And okay, so the next concept I want to introduce you to is a thing called interpolation, and that's where we pass our declared variables into the string template. And the way you do that is we use the $ and curly braces, and you put whatever variable you want in here. And what this technique is called interpolation, and it's going to interpolate whatever your variable you have assigned in here. It's going to interpolate it, and what the template strings method with the interpolation method really provides a efficient way of concatenating your strings instead of doing it like this. So let's go ahead and move forward on a demo of how we can make the hello world using the template strings and an interpolation. So what we'll do is we'll put a $ and then open and closing pair of curly brackets. And you'll see how this kind of changed color. And don't worry about that red thing right now. But the way the rendering engine is interpreting this thing is it's going to see these little tick marks, and it's going to see this $sign, and it sees this curly brace, and it says, hey, we're going to be putting our variables in here, and this will make it easier to concatenate and respect white spaces. So what we'll do is we'll come down here and we'll make another console.log, make some parenthesis pair, terminate it with a semicolon, and let's go ahead and just cut and paste that here. And right now it's complaining because it's empty. We'll come up here and copy the char_00 and we'll paste that in there, and hey, it stopped complaining. And let's see what our web page does now on the console. And we've got the H. Well, hey, we're making some progress. We'll come in here and then we'll do another set of $sign curly braces. Come here, we'll copy our char_01. We'll paste it here, Control S, come here, refresh, HE. So I think you can see where we're going to go with this. And let's go ahead and $sign. Let's go ahead and make 3 more. And let's go ahead and get char_02, paste it here, and then char_03, paste it here, Control S. Let's tighten that up. Control S to save. Refresh. Hello. All right. So now let's go ahead and put this space, and then we'll do one more set of one more $sign and set of curly braces, and then we'll copy string_00, copy, paste, Control S, and let's see what happens. Hey, we've got the space here. So nowadays, this is the preferred method of concatenation, and you can see that we don't have a plus. We don't have to use all these pluses anymore, right? Okay, and this white space here is respected. Now, what's really cool is you can come in here and hit period and type more content. Control S to save, come in here, refresh, and we've got hello world, type more content. Whereas if we're up in here, we'd have to come in and we'd have to make a plus, we have to make a quotation marks, put a period, and then put a space, and then we'd have to hit another plus, and then we'd have to take our type more content, and we'd have to put it into quotation marks. And I know it doesn't, you can't see, let me see if I can, I know we can't see the space here, but there should be a space. So yeah, so doing it with this way is going to be a lot easier on you and more readable. Once you get proficient with using this $sign and this curly braces technique, you'll understand what's going on. Instead of doing this tedious and laborious plus, empty space by quotations, plus, period, and so this is just going to be easier for you to do. So let's come down here and play around a little bit more. Console.log, and then we'll do a set of parentheses, terminate with the semicolon, and we'll put in our backticks. Now let's just do one $sign and one opening and closing pair of curly braces. So what happens if we start copying our stuff from above, our chars, and we just start running them all together. Okay, Control S to save, and let's see what happens. Well, uncaught reference error. Well, what does that mean? It thinks it's one variable that's all run together because it says char_00, 01, 02 is not defined. And that's just basically saying, hey, I don't see a variable up there named this big long monstrosity that we named. So it's not going to work. So what happens if we come in here and we put some spaces in here and hit Control S. Well, it's kind of freaking out. We've got these red squigglies. We'll come back here, hit refresh, and we have this uncaught syntax error, missing right closing bracket, curly brace, bracket, whatever. So it doesn't like this either. You just can't willy-nilly things like this. It doesn't work this way, and you'll learn that as you get more experience with JavaScript and working with variables and this method of using the backtick, the $ with the curly braces. So now one thing I want to talk about is concatenating with numbers. If you remember in part 6, I talked about data types, and we talked about integers and numbers and strings. So let's say we want to do, let's go let x equals 9. And 9 is a number. For JavaScript, it's a number, and for computer science terms, it's an integer. So we'll just call it a number. And then let's say let y equals turtle. Just something silly, right? So what happens if we concatenate these two together? Console.log, parentheses, terminating semicolon. Let's go ahead and just do x plus y. Control S to save. Come back to our console, refresh. We get 9 turtle. Well, what happened here? Well, JavaScript, being a weakly typed, or weak or loosely typed, a loose language, it's going to take the 9 and it's going to convert it to a string to make it work with turtle. So let's do something really cool, and this is going to blow your mind. So let's do type of, let's do one of the parentheses on the opening parentheses, close parentheses, Control S. So you can do this kind of stuff, and as you go along in your JavaScript, you're going to get really proficient at how to write efficient code. And you can do this. You're allowed to do this, right? So we're going to see what happens when you take x, which was a number, and y, which was a string, and once it does these together, we're going to see what happens. We're going to find out what kind of type it becomes. Okay, we'll come in here, we'll hit refresh, and it's a string. So what JavaScript inherently did, it converted the 9 into a string. And in other languages, in other things like C and C++, you'll learn there's a thing called cast, or casting, and it's like a wizard. Like a wizard changes lead into gold because he cast a spell. Well, JavaScript kind of cast a spell on 9 to turn it from a number or an integer to a string. So these are the things you'll have to learn about the behaviors of JavaScript, just like we had to learn about behaviors with CSS and inline and blocks. Well, JavaScript has its own little quirks that you're going to learn about. So what happens if we do this? We take 9 and we make it a string. So it's no longer a integer or a number. And let's go ahead and change y to 18. All right? So we're going to take 9 and 8, and we're going to take x and y, and we're going to concatenate them together, right? So what do you think is going to happen? Are we going to get 27, or are we going to get 918? Okay, YouTubers, go ahead out there and go onto the betting markets and see what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and delete that to get rid of the type of, and we'll just see what happens. We'll see what we get. We're going to get 918. Well, why is that? Well, that's because we have these quotations and it's saying, hey, this is a string. So this is not going to make it 9 plus 18. We're not going to get 27. We're going to get 918 because JavaScript thinks these are strings. Okay, let's go ahead and hit Control Z to get the type of back, right? So what's going to happen when we come here? What is it going to be? So 918, remember it was from before. Hit refresh. It's a string. Let's go ahead and do it with the more modern technique of the $ curly braces. And we'll go ahead and copy X, paste it there, and then move over, $ curly brace pair, paste Y in here, and let's go ahead and, oops, I made a mistake. We always make mistakes. I had to move that tick over. So now, let's see what happens. We changed it from the old school plus method, and we'll come here and hit refresh. We get 918 again. And then once again, if you put a space in here, it's going to respect that white space. And then we could put some gibberish in here. I know I'm kind of going fast, but this is for demo. And you can see it puts the gibberish in there. So what happens if you put a whole bunch of spaces in there? Well, let's find out. Well, it's going to respect all the spaces in there. And that's what's really cool about using this method with the backticks, $, and these curly braces, is it's going to respect and retain the white spaces. Check this out. Hey, this will come in very handy in this tutorial series to come, and you can see how it respected not only the spaces, but it respected the line breaks. And this is a good, using this technique is a good reason why we've abandoned using these pluses, because it allows you to do stuff like this, which will allow you to structure your HTML. It'll allow you to make HTML dynamically rendered here. And you'll see a good example of this in this tutorial series. So let's go ahead and back that up and clean that up a little bit and get back to 918. Control S to save, refresh, and we have 918. So let's go ahead and do something interesting. Now let's come in here and delete those, and then there's an inbuilt method called number. And what this will do is it will take a string like 9, and it has to be a number. You can't use like a letter. Copy that, paste the X in there. Let's go ahead and paste this into the log, and let's see what happens next. We'll come here, refresh, and you can see it's blue. One thing you may have noticed is that all this text is white. That means it's a string. And if it's purple blue color, that means it's an integer. And to double check this, let's go ahead and do type of open parentheses, close parentheses, Control S to save. And remember, this is a string. And then we're using this number function, or this number method, to convert this string into a number or an integer in terms of computer science. So let's Control S to save. We'll come back here and refresh. It's a number. The data type is a number, so it converted it. And as we say in computer science language, we say it cast, or it changed the type. And in a similar vein, and this number, let's go ahead and put this number function took a string type and it converted it into a number or an integer in computer science terms. So we can kind of do the backwards. What we can do is we can take a number, right, and we can convert it into a string. Oop, not string, string. And we do this with a method that's inbuilt with JavaScript, and it's called toString. So let's go ahead and take, let's make x, let's make x a number again, an integer. Let's make it a number again, right? So let's come down here, console.log, terminating semicolon, and we're going to reference x as an object. X is equal to 9, but it's also it's an object. So we'll come in here and we'll hit Control V to paste and hit period, and we're going to say to string. You can see it right here. And to do this, you need to have the opening and closing parentheses, because that's just the way that it works. Hit Control S, and we'll come up here to our page, refresh, and now you can see 9 is white. That means it's a string. And to prove it, we can do the same thing up here. We can go ahead and do typeof, and we can do open parentheses, come over here, close parentheses, Control S to save, and come to our page, refresh. Now it's a string. So this is a conversion. And this is pretty cool. This is why I say JavaScript is so powerful, because you can do really cool things. And I know we covered a lot with concatenation and type conversions, but these will come in very handy later on. The number method and toString method will come in very handy when you actually start dealing with data, like data that might come from a database or from a flat file. And you'll need to do type conversions to do mathematics and things like that. So with that, I've done 2 tutorials today, so my voice is getting raspy and I need to relapse for the night, and I will look forward to the next tutorial tomorrow, and have a good evening. Bye bye.